Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority Board of Directors meeting this Friday, May the 22nd. I'm going to start the meeting by reading the land acknowledgement. The Niagara Peninsula watershed is situated within the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Attawandaronk, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, many of whom continue to work and live here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties number 3, 4, and 381, and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, the watershed is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. At the NPCA, we strive to further our commitment to shared stewardship of natural resources and deep appreciation of Indigenous culture and history within the watershed in small ways every day. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Melanie, and we are going to do a roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Metcalf?
Present.
Member Beatty? Member Clark?
I'm here.
Member Cridland?
Present.
Member Grant? Member O'Neill? Member Seaborn? Member Tattison?
Present.
Member Witteveen? And that's quorum, Chair.
Great, thank you very much. Approval of the agenda this morning. Can I get Member Beatty to move and Member Seaborn to second that the agenda of the Full Authority Board meeting held this May 22nd, 2026 be approved? So moved and second. Are there any modifications, changes, additions that anyone would like to mention at this point? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest this morning? Seeing none, approval of our previous minutes. So, the motion is that the minutes of the Full Authority meeting dated April the 24th, 2026, and the closed session minutes of the Full Authority meeting dated April the 24th, 2026 be approved. Member Clark, can I get you to move, and Member Tattison, can I get you to second that, please? Thank you. Any questions to the minutes? If not, all those in favor of approving these? And that is carried. So here we go with the chair's update. Our team is kicking off the busy season with several public engagement opportunities. Beginning next week, we are hosting an open house to launch the Woodend Conservation Area Management Plan on Wednesday, May the 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Niagara College. Woodend is an absolute gem of a conservation area that we have. I've spent many a day back over the years. My in-laws actually were the gatekeepers there for a number of years. So, we also have a public meeting regarding the Beamer Memorial Management Plan scheduled on Tuesday, June 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Peach King Center in Grimsby. I'll be asking a question of Mr. Christie regarding the trail and everything else, because I suspect that may come up as an issue or a discussion at that particular meeting. We're going to have an open house for the 4 Mile Creek Integrated Watershed Management Plan. It's scheduled at the Niagara-on-the-Lake Community Center on Wednesday, June the 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. We are also scheduling information sessions for the Upper Welland Tributaries floodplain mapping later in June. Confirmation of locations will follow. I'm pleased to share with the board that earlier this month, Thorold City Council passed a bylaw to designate St. John's School and Mill as heritage sites. Our staff will be coordinating with the city to plan a designation ceremony, and please stay tuned for more on that. On a personal level, I was at the the announcement that happened at Hipple Farm out in Lincoln regarding funding for the irrigation systems that are being looked at in and through Niagara. And I had an opportunity to chat with Minister McCarthy at that particular point in time. So interesting discussion. The province is very much focused on the changes that are happening within conservation areas. So anyway, it was a good, frank discussion that I had with him. I would like to call on Member Cridlin to provide an update from the Foundation. Donna, please go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. An update today. NPCF is holding its annual general meeting next Thursday, or this Thursday, May 28th, next week. And also, we now have a full board of 12 members from the 8 we've had for the past 2 years. So we see the momentum continuing to grow. And leaning into that a bit more, we also will be having the opportunity to hire a student for 12 weeks in the summer under the Canada Summer Jobs Program. So again, lots happening, and more to report next meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Member Cridlin? Okay, thank you, Donna. The upcoming gala event, do you wish to speak to that now, or will that come up later in the meeting?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Well, we could mention hold the date. There's a lot more details for that, so that might come out maybe next meeting. We are certainly in the active sponsorship phase of that event. So for the public, perhaps hold July 24th and watch for more details on our socials. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Member Cridlin. Move into correspondence this morning. We do have one item of correspondence. I'd like to have Member Metcalf, can you move, and Member Beattie, can you second that the correspondence dated May the 1st, 2026 from the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, re-Minister's direction under Section 1.14 of the Conservation Authorities Act, temporary restrictions be received? Okay, so moved and seconded. Any comments on this to the CAO?
Thank you, through the chair. I'll be providing an update presentation, and I'll go through more of the specifics around the temporary restrictions and the minister's directions for the board.
Okay, thank you very much. And of course, the temporary restrictions come really as no major surprise within that. So, all those in favor of receiving this correspondence? And that is carried. So, coincidentally, we now have the presentation by our CAO concerning the transition to Regional Conservation Authority update. And with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Leilani.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There has been some progress, particularly the minister's direction in the last month, and I'd like to take a few moments just to walk the board through those advancements. So again, as we know, we are within the Western Lake Ontario Regional Conservation Authority, ourselves, Hamilton Conservation Authority, Conservation Halton, and Credit Valley Conservation Authority, with a new watershed, regional watershed spanning from down here in Niagara, from the Niagara River, all the way through Hamilton, Halton, Peel, and portions of Orangeville, Dufferin County, and some areas of Pouce Lynch. The province is taking this as a phased approach, as we know. Phase 1 was the announcement back in the fall and the introduction of the legislation and passing of that legislation to establish the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency that will oversee the transition of the consolidation and the ongoing governance and administration of the new conservation authorities. The phase 2 that we are currently in is now with the changes to the Conservation Authorities Act for the statutory amalgamation. We're now moving through the transition phase with guidance from OPCA and the Chief Conservation Executive, with the expectation of a transition date of February 1st of next year or a later date prescribed by regulation. And on that transition date, that will be the implementation of the transition plan that we're going to be developing this year for the new Regional Conservation Authority. So to break it out in just a bit more detail, since the spring has been busy with the passing of Bill 97 and the changes to the Conservation Authorities Act. We're now in that phase, moving into early summer in receiving those ministers' directions on the temporary restrictions. We do know that they are recruiting project executives right now for each of the regional conservation authorities to lead the transition committees. NPCA, the board has appointed myself and Chair Foster to our transition committee, and I understand our partner conservation authorities are also making those appointments. It's our understanding, starting early summer, the transition committee work will begin. The province has retained Ernst & Young as a consultant to work with OPCA to gather the baseline information, develop the playbook for the transition planning, and advise the province as we move through this process. We've had an initial meeting with Ernst & Young. We are in the process of collecting baseline information to provide to them to inform the next steps of the work. And then again, as we move forward through the process, aiming towards that February 1st date. Again, just breaking down, the red stars are where we're at and what's the current status. So the initial information requests, as I noted from Ernst & Young, has been made and we're responding to that. We're providing those information, and we've appointed our members to our transition committee. So a bit more on the minister's direction with the temporary restrictions. So this direction is to prohibit certain decisions of conservation authorities, really to ensure the continuity of services and minimize the risk during the transition phase. These temporary guardrails and what we were expecting to come forward, they relate to changes to bylaws of the conservation authorities, organizational or staffing changes, and these are really major shifts within the organizational structure, and changes to senior leadership, including the CAO position and senior leadership team, and key staff responsible for our natural hazard mandate. Restrictions on acquisition and disposition of lands, significant capital transactions, and certain provision of goods and services and entering into service agreements. In general, there are restrictions to new long-term agreements, so anything greater than 2 years, and service contracts over $500,000. There are exceptions for projects with previous approvals within the 2026 budgets and to address an immediate danger to human life, health, or property. They're not intended to interfere with regular day-to-day CA business and operations, and they have been open to say if any conservation authorities have questions or are seeking clarification to contact the Office of the Chief Conservation Executive. Myself and SLT have been going through, existing agreements, anticipating what this restriction may mean for what we have planned for 2026. The area of acquisitions is where we'll be seeking some clarification because we have some board approval for the several properties that we're engaged in right now, and it's unclear if that's sufficient approval to move forward at this time. So we will be seeking some additional clarity around that. Any renewals to agreements or extensions appear to be exempt, but again, as those cross our desks, we will make sure that we just seek clarification to ensure that. And all the directions would expire on or earlier of the date of the direction or the transition date. So we're looking from May 1st to February 1st next year, or again, earlier or later, depending on any further direction from the minister. There is a process by which we can request authorization for any of those restrictions. It's to be sent via email to the OPCA Chief Executive Officer, or if they're not appointed yet, the Chief Conservation Executive. Must contain the following information. So a description of the decision that the CA is seeking authorization to make, including the details of the proposed decision, why the proposed decision is a decision that is subject to the direction, a resolution from the authority supporting the proposed decision, an explanation of why authorization should be granted, including any risks associated with deferring the decision until after the transition date, and any information about relevant dates for the proposed decision, including any considerations around urgency or time-sensitive nature of the proposed decision. The OPCA CAO may either grant in whole or part of the authorization or deny it. It's noted the decision would be made within 30 calendar days from the day of receiving the request with all the information. The OPCA CAO could require additional information, and it's our understanding that we could make another request for authorization based on the feedback and decision of the initial request. So there is a process in place that, if needed, we can pursue with the province. So again, next steps and what we know today, and tomorrow may be something else we know, but as of today, this is what we know. Again, our critical and impactful work continues. That's been clear. It is business as usual during the transition process. There continues to be confirmation of no staff reductions. Our local offices are to remain open. As I noted, we are responding to the collection request from the Chief Executive. Our understanding is MEC will continue to engage with us to work through areas such as mobilization, alignment, and risk identification as we move through the transition process. We know, as of today and what we know, there are 5 members appointed to OPCA at this time, with the chair and 2 vice chairs still vacant. We know that the Chief Conservation Executive is recruiting project executives. We've made our appointments to the committee, and my understanding, Hamilton and CBC have had board meetings. I believe they are making their appointments, and Halton is following in June at their next board meeting. And we continue to engage with staff and external partners in the board. Some of the opportunities I've had recently, I made a delegation to the Niagara Region Corporate Services Committee to give them an update on the process of where we're at and what we're expecting at this time in terms of the budget. Director Gagnon and I met with Niagara Financial senior leadership staff to just let them know what we understand in terms of the budget, and we're also understanding what will happen with a appointed chair with strong chair powers and what that process may be for their budget process, so we're having that dialogue. We are having a meeting in June with ourselves, Hamilton CA, Conservation Halton, and the Grand Conservation Authority with Hamilton financial staff to start having discussions around the budget this year. And we've met with some partners, and I always start the meetings now with a bit of an overview. So of recent, we've met with staff from Niagara-on-the-Lake, OPG. We met with Brock University yesterday. So we continue just to make sure they have information in hand, and they are aware of the portal that we have set up to assist the public and our partners in understanding this process. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions or to seek clarification, of particularly the minister's direction from this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Leilani, and the presentation that was provided to our Corporate Services Committee over at the region went very well, I thought. Lots of good questions from councillors came back in and through, so you know, I'm quite happy with that process that's going on, and particularly for my friends from Hamilton or Haldimand. I know there's multiple conservation authorities involved with those areas, but certainly this presentation wouldn't be bad for either one of those particular areas. Are there any questions to Leilani on this at this point? Member Seaborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have plans kind of in the work about some of the campgrounds that we have. Because they haven't actually started, or at least I don't believe they've started, will that be impacted by some of the direction that the minister has put through?
Thank you. Very good question. I'll kick it off, then I'll hand it over to Director Christie. There are some capital works that we initiated this year, but we are continuing with the broader feasibility work that's going to be tied into our asset management plan and capital plan that will be presented. But I'll hand it over to Adam for details.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. The current campground electrical project is dealing with all the immediate concerns that came out of the audit, and none of that will be impacted negatively. They're all ongoing right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Seaborn. I don't see any other questions, so with that, sorry, Member Metcalf, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Foster, and through you to Leilani. I'm glad to see that there's a provision in there that we can go hat in hand to the executive for acquisition. I know there was a few on the list that the Conservation Authority was looking at that possibly be time sensitive. So I'm glad that there's a provision that we can move forward possibly with acquisition. I had a gut feeling that they were going to maybe put a moratorium on moving assets or obtaining assets. So at least there's an out, or there's an in, if you will, for us to continue on with our planned expansions.
Thank you, Member Metcalf. And I don't see any other questions at this point. So with that, Member Metcalf, can I get you to move that we accept this presentation, or receive this presentation? Thank you. Member Cridlin, can I get you to second that, please? Thank you. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. And thank you, Leilani. Very good update. So this morning we don't have any delegations. Consent items. We have a few. We have two. The two consent items are compliance and enforcement Q1 2026 statistics and the beach water testing at Binbrook Conservation Area update. Does anyone wish to vote on either one of those separately? Seeing no with that, can I get Member Seaborn to move the following, those two items at this point? Thank you. Member Cridlin, can I get you to second that, please? Thank you. Any questions to either one of these reports? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. We have our discussion item this morning, so I guess you're going back to the... we're kind of doing musical chairs with Leilani here this morning. So Leilani is going to take us through the 2025 annual report. So Leilani, I turn it over to you once again.
Thank you, Chair. So this morning I'm pleased to present highlights from our 2025 annual report titled Building Conservation Legacy Together. This year's theme reflects the strong foundation of partnerships that are behind many successes throughout the year that will have a lasting impact on the watershed for generations to come. So we all know our watershed. Our watershed spans over 242,000 hectares of land, includes 15 municipalities, approximately 500,000 residents, includes 202 local waterways, approximately 90 kilometers of the Lake Erie shoreline, 50 kilometers of the Lake Ontario shoreline, the Niagara River, portions of the Niagara Escarpment, and the northernmost range of the Carolinian Life Zone. And the Welland Canal supports cargo shipping between Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, bypassing the Niagara Escarpment and Niagara Falls. And together, these interconnected water systems form our hydrological foundation of our jurisdiction. We take an integrated watershed management approach to our programs and services, recognizing that water is a valuable resource that should be managed sustainably in conjunction with natural resources like our fisheries, wildlife, and land. And it involves managing human activities and natural resources within watershed boundaries through adaptive practices to ensure sustainability. So our 10-year strategic plan emphasizes a conservation-first philosophy, collaborative ethics, and innovation rooted in science, setting the foundation for our response to climate change, growth, and the need for sustainable green infrastructure. Our vision is nature for all, and we envision a healthy, vibrant environment with shared green space and clean water that sustains our life for future generations. The plan identifies 6 priorities with related goals and key performance measures. These priorities guide our actions to meet the vision, mission, and mandate of our plan, and they include healthy and climate-resilient watersheds, supporting sustainable growth, connecting people to nature, partner of choice, organizational excellence, and financial sustainability. Our annual report celebrates our successes and measures our performance in achieving our strategic priorities and goals, and helps guide our organization's decision-making and implementation process into the future. Our work to improve nature for the betterment of all across the watershed has resulted in close to 126 new lands acquired. It was a busy year in 2025, as we know. We assisted with treating hemlock woolly adelgid in our St. John's conservation area, 288 trees with support from the town of Pelham. We reforested 20 hectares of riparian habitat. We've planted almost 46,000 trees and another 5,000 shrubs. We continue to collect surface and groundwater quality samples, expanding our program to assist our partners in collecting information to make decisions. And we continue to maintain our monitoring equipment and our stations throughout the watershed. In terms of supporting sustainable growth, we continue to streamline and improve our client-centric processes to help create resilient communities through land use planning and updated floodplain mapping to prepare for a changing climate and related environmental challenges. We issued 382 permits last year. We continue to see a high volume of permits in our watershed. We almost hit 100% of permits issued within the provincial client service timelines. There's, always that one permit that takes a little longer sometimes. On average, we're issuing permits in 17 days, which I think is fantastic. We continue to have a high volume of planning applications, and where we'll hear later in our closed session on our compliance side, we continue to see that high volume of compliance that typically correlates with higher levels of planning and development in an area. We continue to support our partner municipalities in their policy developments, and we continue to focus on our floodplain mapping. And last year we completed the Oswego Creek and Big Forks Creek mapping projects. We continue to enhance our outdoor programs, engaging with the community and businesses, and look for opportunities to increase self-generated revenue. We continue to see an increase in our conservation area visitors, increase in paid admissions. We continue to see an increase in engagement in outdoor education, which is fantastic because we're really connecting with the future conservationists within our watershed. Our Nature Plus membership continues to be stable and increasing in terms of accessing passes through our local libraries. And we've seen an increase of attendees at our signature events, such as the Thanksgiving Festival. It was a fantastic season last year for the festival. We continue to develop programs and events that strengthen our relationships with interested parties, partners, and watershed communities and Indigenous peoples. Some of our highlights from last year was kicking off the Lake Ontario Coastal Resilience Pilot Project. We're working with Niagara on the Lake on our 4 Mile Creek subwatershed study and working with them on asset management inventory. I mentioned the town of Pelham's support with our hemlock woolly adelgid treatments at St. John's Conservation Area. Our Trees for All program is engaging with all our municipalities within our watershed. And we've been enhancing our fish monitoring programs in Lake Nyapenko and the Lower Welland River with support from OPG. As a conservation authority, we strive for excellence through our high service delivery standards and accountability to the environment and people. We continue to see a high level of staff retention. We've seen successes with internal promotions as well last year. We have a high focus on our training of staff to make sure they're equipped with the knowledge and skills to continue their careers with us. We've had excellent opportunities to work with youth and offer student positions in youth employment. We have a high return rate for our seasonal staff, and we've seen an increase in our employee staff satisfaction survey, which is always a great sign of our success. We're continuing our impactful work and financial sustainability of our organization that provides service delivery through innovative business models, diverse funding sources, and best practices. Last year was another year of significant financial growth for the organization. We generated $6.1 million in self-generated revenue, representing 31% of our total revenue, which is a 39% increase from 2024. We secured $4.2 million in grant funding, $6.3 million in capital projects and land acquisitions were completed. 23 procurement initiatives were completed, and there were 5 collaborative purchasing agreements executed. Our variance against the consolidated budget is only 1.14%. We completed significant capital projects to improve access to our parks and visitor experiences and invested in new software to support effective long-term capital strategies and the budget process. And due to our staff's efforts to diversify revenue sources, we continue to see a decrease on our reliance on the municipal levy. It's important that we recognize our partnership with the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation, and their successes are also our successes. Their fundraising efforts support our tree planting, watershed restoration, education, park maintenance, and land securement programs. And together, we're achieving our shared goal of nature for all, for always. I'm going to make a plug, and I know Donna held back a little bit, but I'm going to let it out of the bag a little bit here. So I'm going to plug the Foundation's new signature event at our Balls Falls Conservation Area. This event is titled The Golden Hour. It's our inaugural Sunset Gala in support of conservation across the Niagara Peninsula watershed. It is taking place on Friday, July 24th at 6 p.m. The event will bring together live music, elevated food and beverage, and conservation storytelling set against the backdrop of Balls Falls Conservation Area during the fleeting glow of the golden hour. The evening will feature a live performance by the Great Lakes Swimmers, along a curated outdoor experience celebrating community, culture, and the landscapes we work together to protect. More information of this event will be shared with our partners and community within the next week. So I'd like to take a moment to recognize Rob Petrullo, Sophia Zaffarella, Erica Navarro, and Melanie Davis for leading the preparation of the annual report and all the staff who made contributions. Also, thank you to our staff, board members, municipal partners, the community, and our watershed partners who have all come together to support the work of the NPCA and help us create healthy and resilient watersheds and communities. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Leilani. Great report. Anyone have any questions with this? Boy, everybody. I have a couple because I thought the couple of them triggered a few things. So you talked about training and the number of hours that we're doing, which I think is amazing. You have some incredibly good staff in some of the areas that we have. Some of them that have helped with the tree planting services, others that have been running these big projects that we got. Do we make use of internal staff for some of the training?
Great question. We do host lunch and learn opportunities so that we can share information throughout the departments. When we are working on projects, we do seek staff input, so that those are training opportunities too. So I'm going to give a shout out right now. We're working on our climate change action plan. We're engaging with our staff internally, a bit of an education piece on what that means corporately, and for people to reflect internally on what that means to their jobs. We also do work closely, say, with Brock University and other education providers. We also worked with our EPA provider for information on transitioning, during times of transition for our staff. So we do make an opportunity to bring forward the expertise that we have internally and augment that with the external training that we offer too.
Okay, thank you. I have one other, and I'll go over to you. I'll finish my question, then I'll come over to Donna. So the one other question for you, it was on the revenue generation that we are doing with the NPCA, and we've talked about this for the last number of years, how we've increased that. And I know Adam and the team have been doing work in that area and getting the grants and stuff like that. Just out of curiosity for the home audience that's watching, how do we compare to other conservation areas in that, in how we actually generate revenues that way?
That's a very good question. And also, as we're learning from our other partner conservation authorities in the Western Lake Ontario Regional Conservation Authority, we're also better understanding maybe what we've taken for granted as some of the unique opportunities that we present. So within our conservation authority, we definitely have our parks as opportunities with our flagship properties, Binbrook, Balls Falls, Long Beach, and Chippewa, where there's self-generated revenue through gates and third-party agreements to provide services on those properties as well. And we also have our education programs with the school boards. And then we have also great opportunities in camping, which is an area that we're looking to enhance through the camp feasibility study, where we've been greatly successful in grant opportunities support innovative research. It is becoming more apparent that needing to take more of a regional approach has been successful in our grant efforts, and I see that with the other conservation authorities as well. How can we bring together our resources to put forward a collective effort to receive grant funding? I think that's, I'm seeing some consistencies across the board there. But I think, comparatively for us being, I'm going to say fairly just small in size in terms of budget, the level of external funding has been so impactful for us. And I may turn it to Lise to see if she has any other thoughts, but other conservation authorities lean heavily on the municipal levy, and that's been a historical arrangement, and municipalities in those watersheds are fine with supporting them that way. However, we've been making great efforts to decrease our dependency on the levy and look for those self-generated and grant funding. But I'll give Lise an opportunity if she'd like to add.
Through you, Chair Foster. It's been my experience in looking at the financial statements of our predecessor CAs that there's a great diversity so there's no, for example, one of the conservation authorities will be amalgamating with is the reliance on the levy is almost exclusive, which is unusual. There are different levels, so there's not, where do we fit towards the top or towards the bottom? I'd have to look at all of them, and I haven't had the opportunity to do that. But I would say that not only do we generate a significant number of dollars in self-generated revenues, we also have a diversity. So everything from weddings to planning and permitting to camping, you know, so we're actively trying to increase that to reduce the reliance on the levy.
Great, thank you very much. Member Credlin.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Again, probably just comments. It builds on what you're just saying about the theme that you've used is building a legacy of conservation together. And certainly 2025 exemplifies that. And I just really want to, you know, say thank you to everybody and what a bar we have set in terms of not being broken, in terms of going forward. So I think we can be really proud as we head into the amalgamation and all the other things that we've got in front of us. So just thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Member Credland. Any other comments? Okay. We need a mover and a seconder for this. Member Beattie, can I get you to move? And Member Taddison, can I get you to second? That report number FA 1526, the annual report, be received, and that the draft 2025 annual report be approved, and further that the final report be published online and distributed to participating municipalities, government agencies, conservation authority partners, community stakeholders, the Public Advisory Committee, Drinking Source Water Protection Committee, and the public in various media formats. Any questions to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Committee reports. We do have one committee report, which is the Public Advisory Committee minutes from May the 12th. Member Seaborn, can I get you to move that we accept those minutes? And Member Clark, can I get you to second that, please? Thank you. Any questions to these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. We have no motions. Does anybody have a notice of motion this morning? Seeing none, new business. Does anybody have any new business they'd like to bring forward? I'll look on the line here first. Nobody online. Member Cridlin, please go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just wanted to expand a little bit more on the management plans that are that we've announced some dates earlier in the meeting. How are we? Just remind me how we're doing the outreach to get that public input. I know there's a lot of online, but maybe one of the staff could just update me again on how we're getting that outreach to get that public out for those management meetings that we really need that input. So thank you, Chair.
I think we're going to turn this over to Natalie to answer the question.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Yes, we take a very robust approach to our outreach to get public input for the management planning process. So it depends on the project, but we use a combination of postcards to local residents. We do a lot of advertising through social media, Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing. For the wood end management plan, that is the approach that we've taken. We are doing some on-site surveys as well to get some input. We rely heavily on our Get Involved portal, which has all of the information. It's a great hub if the community is interested in learning more about the wood end management plan and what we have planned for that one. We are hosting a public information center on May the 26th, which was mentioned. And during that session will be a facilitated discussion to get that input. So we're taking a lot lot of different approaches to make sure that people know that the public open houses are coming up, and to get that input that we're looking for. In addition, we have a media release that will be going out. So, you know, we do our very best with a very robust communications and outreach plan for both of those particular public meetings. So if anyone's interested, for sure the Get Involved portal, getinvolved.npca.ca, is the best place to go for all of the one-stop shop information for both of those management planning processes and the other public information sessions that we have coming up. There's a number of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Member Cridlin? Member Taddison?
Hi, everybody. I was just spurred by some thoughts that you brought up, Chair, in terms of revenue generation. And I was thinking that, you know, I know that we have like certain access points to conservation areas that are gated. And currently those gates are raised right now, and basically it's free access. Is there any possible way that we could put the gates down with a suggested donation, and then people can either donate or not donate? I know that I would willingly donate if I was given that opportunity and I wanted to use the conservation area and access the parking lot.
Thank you thank you for the question through you, Chair. I just want to add that we do have a donation option today for those gates. So even though they are open, it is, we do still receive donations both at St. John's and Rockaway.
And then is the gate always up with that? So there's no stop to actually engage someone entering to ask for the donation, or is it just a passive donation?
So through you, Chair, the gates are up, but it is designed with signage and everything. Like as you pull up there, you would have to slow down and see the sign, and like you would know that there's a possibility for a donation.
Okay. Thanks so much. I just I didn't notice it myself. I've been there a couple times, so thanks for highlighting that, and I'll be more observant in the future.
Thank you, Member Taddison. I don't see any other new business at this point. So, closed session. We are going to go into a closed session, and just for those at home, we go into closed session for a variety of differing reasons. There may be motions that are or advice given to staff by our committee in closed session, but nothing has to be dealt with in open session today. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on the telecast. And with that, I am also going to ask that Member Beattie move and Member Cridlin second that we go into closed session to deal with litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the NPCA, and this is on compliance and enforcement matters. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? That is carried. And with that, we shall go into closed session. Thank you very much.